Hi, I'm Melanie. I am the artistic director for Manx, short for Movement Arts Nature Exchange, where I integrate dance and opera at the same time. And today I'm going to do a How Does She Do That Lucia edition, where I'm going to break down a portion of the choreography that I have for the mad scene from Donizetti's opera Lucia di Lammermoor. This is an example of something that often happens in my choreography, which is where I get this really cool idea that I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be so fun. This is what I want it to look like. And it is inevitably something that if you took that and went to a staging rehearsal at pretty much any opera company in the world, and you told a singer to do the thing I have envisioned in my head, they would look at you like you have lost your goddamn mind. And I will not lie that those are actually like the challenge of taking something that's like, oh, there's no way that can work, and being like, wait, but could it work? That is one of my favorite things about this dance opera fusion process. So that's what's happening here in this little excerpt of Lucia and the mad scene. So this is at the beginning of the scene, and I'm just going to do this little excerpt just in full for you to start, so you see what it is, and then I will go back and break the whole thing down. So there's some walking around that happens in the beginning. I'm going to cut that for just time purposes, but it gets to the start of the aria. Also, side note, if you happen to hear random rumbling sounds like every few minutes, it's the train, it's New York, and we're very, very close to like one of the overpasses. I will try to edit those sounds out, or at least minimize them in some cases, but if you do hear rumbling, that is it. My apologies. Okay, back to Lucia. So, what in the world just happened? Okay, to start, the first thing I do when I have a really, really difficult section, especially like this kind of repertoire that is notoriously just not easy to sing really, really well, I always make sure that I can sing it without sans movement first. So I make sure that like I've got the music pretty much just down pat. In fact, this section in particular, I was like, I'm gonna get comfortable with being really, really uncomfortable, because it's in that is in like such a scary kind of like funky place that all the singers watching this will very, very, very much understand. Not very, very vulnerable, very, very exposed, not easy to do. So I always make sure that I feel really, really comfortable and really technically consistent in what I'm doing with that before I start to choreograph it and go from there. So yeah. So the first thing I did was make sure that was in really, really good shape. Technically, just standing and singing, feeling really, really comfortable, knowing that I had the tools to do that, and then could load it in different ways as I wanted. So, we got that. We have this. I love a diagonal that gets into my obliques and my intercostal muscles. I love. Such like a very, very deeply satisfying thing, I think, just personally, and as a singer, I also find it quite satisfying. So we're in this comes up, this circles around. I will essentially what I call a pre-wolf turn. If any of you are gymnastics fans, this is like a thing that is present in many balance beam and floor routines, particularly in women's gymnastics. They do a bit like a bunch of spins after this. I am not going to do that. We're just gonna start do those. So we're in this like pre-wolf turn thing. How do we get there? So from here, come at this, have a little spin around. I make sure before I go into that deep pre-wolf turn kind of position, I make sure that my weight is really securely shifted onto my right leg. So that is going to take the brunt of my weight. So hands here. I want my knee tracking over my second toe for alignment. Depending on just how, like if I feel a little unsteady, I can turn this leg in a bit, or ideally I like to have it nice and turned out. Glutes, pelvic floor, core, nice and engaged. Not tight, but engaged. Okay, the next part. All right, so we've got this. Okay, so this comes up, again, once again, a nice little obliques intercostals. Nice little work there. Once again, engaged. Not tight, but engaged. So here, and then if I need to, I can put my hand down here as like a little bit of an extra like assist, but I try not to. So I have, and then as I do that, remember my weight is really clearly on my right, even though there's a little bit of weight, but it's really, most of it's on my right. I'm really thinking of turning out and like almost expanding through my glutes and my pelvic floor. So not thinking of condensing, even though the move is condensing, I'm actually thinking of expansion to like counteract that condensing in motion. So we have a little sneak peek, deep dive into how I decided to do a pre-wolf turn and put it into an aria and do it while singing not just any aria, but a notoriously difficult one. Because that's what I find fun, is to be like, how can we make these things even more challenging, but also really cool?